The funeral home mixed multiple bodies together, then charged us for individual cremation. I was holding what was supposed to be my father's ashes when I noticed they felt too light. The funeral director assured me everything was normal, but I'm an accountant. I know when numbers don't add up. It was Tuesday morning, 2 days before Dad's memorial service. 8 months of watching cancer eat him alive, and now I was standing in Harold Brennan's office at Brennan Funeral Home, holding this burgundy urn that was supposed to contain what was left of him. The second his assistant handed it to me, something felt wrong. The weight was off, not slightly off, completely wrong. "This doesn't feel right," I said. Harold Brennan, who'd been running this place for 30 years, gave me that practiced sympathy smile, the one that probably worked on hundreds of grieving families. "Celeste, I understand. Grief makes us imagine things, makes everything feel different than it should." No, I mean the weight." I lifted the urn up and down. "My father weighed 200 pounds. This feels like nothing. Every body is different, cremation is variable, some people leave more ash, some less." I pulled out my phone. "Where's your scale?" "Excuse me? Your scale? You must have one for shipping." His smile tightened. "This really isn't necessary. Please." He led me to the back office, clearly irritated. The digital postal scale read 4.2 pounds. 4.2. I stared at the numbers. Pulled up Google, right there in front of him. Every single source said the same thing. A 200-pound man should leave 6 to 8 pounds of ash. Every source. Every medical journal. Every cremation guide. "This is less than half what it should be." Harold's face went red. "Are you questioning our process?" "We've been serving this community for 3 decades. I drove home with that urn on the passenger seat, couldn't stop looking at it, called my brother Michael from the driveway. Something's wrong with Dad's ashes." "Jesus, Celeste, what now? They're too light. Way too light. You're exhausted. You've been dealing with this for months. Let Dad rest." That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened the urn. I know how that sounds. I know it's wrong, but I had to see. The ashes looked too uniform, too fine, like sand from the same beach. But then I saw something else. Different colors, some gray, some white, some almost tan. And then, catching the light from my desk lamp, something metallic. I used tweezers to pull it out. A dental filling. An old amalgam filling. The silver kind they used decades ago. My father never had amalgam fillings. He was allergic to mercury. Only had composite crowns his whole life. I took a photo and texted my college roommate Sarah. She's a dentist now. "Is this amalgam?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Yes, that's definitely amalgam." "Why? Your dad only had composite crowns, right?" "I remember because you said he was paranoid about mercury." I couldn't sleep. Drove back to the funeral home at 7 the next morning. Harold wasn't there yet, but his son Robert was, setting up for a viewing. "I need to see the cremation records for my father." Robert wouldn't look me in the eye. "Those are confidential." "He's my father." "You'll need to talk to my dad." Harold arrived an hour later. I showed him the filling. "This isn't from my father. He never had amalgam." "You're upset." "You're imagining things. Sometimes dental work changes in the cremation process. Metal doesn't change into different metal." His whole demeanor shifted, no more sympathy smile. "What exactly are you accusing us of?" "I want to see the cremation log for December 18th. Those records are private. Now, if you'll excuse me, we have families to serve. Real families who trust us." He walked to his office. Robert followed, but at the door he glanced back at me. He looked scared. I sat in my car in their parking lot, shaking. That's when someone knocked on my window. Janet Wu, one of the younger employees. She looked around nervously before leaning in. "Don't drink coffee tomorrow morning. Check your email first." "What?" She was already walking away. I didn't sleep that night. At 5 a.m., an email popped up. Anonymous account. No subject line. Just an attachment. I opened it. A photo of a crematorium log. December 18th. The day Dad died. The timestamp showed 6 a.m., 12 bodies listed. 12. All cremated together in one batch. But at the bottom, 12 separate cremation certificates had been generated throughout the day. 8:15 a.m. for the Morrison family. 10:30 for the Johnsons. 2:15 p.m. for us. Each family billed $3,200 for individual cremation with witnessing option. 12 bodies. 1 cremation. My father wasn't alone in that furnace. 20 minutes after opening that email, I was back at Brennan Funeral Home with the printed pages in my hand. Harold was in the lobby talking to another family. I waited until they left, then walked straight up to him. "We need to talk. Privately. Now." He saw the papers in my hand. His jaw tightened. "My office." The second the door closed, I slammed the printout on his desk. 12 bodies, 1 cremation. You cremated my father with 11 other people. He picked up the paper, studied it, put it down slowly. "Where did you get this?" "Does it matter? You charged us $3,200 for individual cremation. This log shows you burned 12 people together at 6 a.m. Harold leaned back in his chair, clasped his hands together. "This is a misunderstanding. We do group witnessing for efficiency. It's standard practice." "Group witnessing?" "Multiple families can witness their loved ones entering the retort together. It saves time, energy, resources. You told us individual cremation. The invoice says individual cremation with witnessing option. The cremation is individual in the sense that each family receives their loved one's remains separately." I stood up. "How? How do you separate 12 bodies worth of ashes after they're burned together?" He didn't answer, just opened his desk drawer and pulled out a checkbook. "I can see you're upset. Let me make this right." He started writing. "Full refund of the $3,200, plus $5,000 for your emotional distress, $8,200 total." He tore off the check, pushed it across the desk. "Take it. We'll call this a misunderstanding." $8,000? You think this is about money?" He opened another drawer, pulled out a document. "You'll need to sign this. Standard release form. Says we've resolved the matter to your satisfaction. I scanned it. Non-disclosure agreement. Can't discuss the cremation process. Can't contact other families. Can't post on social media. Can't contact media outlets. This is hush money. It's a resolution, a generous one. My father's ashes are mixed with strangers. God knows whose remains I have in that urn. Harold stood up, walked around the desk. Celeste, your father is gone. Nothing we do now will bring him back. Take the money. Have your memorial service. Move on with your life. And if I don't? His sympathetic mask finally dropped completely. Then things get complicated. Legal battles are expensive, emotional, public. Your father was a private man, wasn't he? Do you really want his death dragged through courts? Through newspapers? I grabbed the papers off his desk. I'm calling the police. You do that. He opened his office door for me. Ask them how many criminal cases they've prosecuted for cremation irregularities. Ask them if mixing ashes is even illegal in this state. I walked past him. At the doorway, he put his hand on my shoulder. I jerked away. Think about my offer, Celeste. It expires at 5 p.m. today. I drove straight from Harold's office to the police station, still clutching those printed emails. The lobby smelled like burnt coffee and floor wax. Sergeant Mills sat behind bulletproof glass, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when I approached the window. I need to report a fraud and possible abuse of human remains. He slid a form through the slot. Fill this out. Someone will be with you. 45 minutes later, he called me back to a cramped interview room. I spread the cremation log on the table, explained everything, the weight, the amalgam filling, 12 bodies cremated together. Mills glanced at the papers for maybe 3 seconds. This is a civil matter. Civil? They're mixing human remains, charging for services they didn't provide. You'll need to contact the state funeral board. They committed fraud. $3,200 per family, times 12. That's almost $40,000 just for that one day. He leaned back in his chair. Lady, they're already dead. There's no crime against a corpse in this state. Unless you can prove they murdered someone, this isn't our jurisdiction. So they can just do whatever they want with bodies. Look, I understand you're upset. Losing a parent is hard, but funeral homes have their own regulations, their own oversight board. Which is who exactly? State Funeral Board. They handle licenses, complaints, all that. And what happens if Harold Brennan is friends with the board members? Plays golf with them every Sunday? Mills stood up. That's quite an accusation. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm asking what oversight actually exists. Ma'am, you're obviously going through a difficult time. Grief can make us see problems that aren't there. Problems that aren't there? I have documentation showing 12 bodies. Documentation from an anonymous source. Could be fake, could be misunderstood, could be a disgruntled employee making things up. The weight discrepancy isn't made up. The amalgam filling isn't made up. Bodies change during cremation. Things happen. Look, file a complaint with the state board if you want, but we don't investigate business disputes. Business disputes? This is about my father's remains. He opened the door. I'm sorry for your loss. The memorial's tomorrow, right? You should focus on that. Celebrate his life. Let him rest in peace. I grabbed my papers. You're not going to do anything. There's nothing for us to do. This isn't a criminal matter. Outside in my car, I called the state funeral board. An automated system answered. Press 1 for licensing questions. Press 2 for continuing education. Press 3 for complaints. I pressed 3. Thank you for calling the State Funeral Board complaint line. Our office hours are Monday through Friday 9 to 4. Due to high call volume, the current wait time for an appointment is approximately 6 weeks. If this is an emergency, please contact local law enforcement. 6 weeks. The memorial was tomorrow afternoon. I called back. Pressed 0 repeatedly until I got a human. State Funeral Board, how may I direct your call? I need to speak with someone about an urgent complaint. A funeral home is mixing bodies during cremation. I can schedule you an appointment. First available is February 3rd. That's 6 weeks away. This is happening now. They're probably doing it to other families right now. I understand your concern. You can file a written complaint online. Someone will review it within 30 to 45 business days. 45 business days? That's the current processing time. Is there anything else I can help you with? I hung up, sat in my car staring at the police station. Sergeant Mills walked out, got in his cruiser, and drove away. Probably headed home to his family, his living family. Tomorrow, 200 people would gather to honor my father, and I'd have to stand there knowing that the urn might contain pieces of 12 different strangers. The memorial service was supposed to start at 2, but I couldn't bring myself to enter the church until 10 past. 200 people packed into St. Joseph's. Dad's coworkers from the engineering firm, his poker buddies, neighbors from the last 30 years. All there to say goodbye to a man whose remains might not even be in that burgundy urn sitting on the altar. I sat in the front pew between Michael and Aunt Martha. The priest was talking about Dad's dedication to his family, his work ethic, his faith. I couldn't hear any of it. All I could see was that urn. 4.2 pounds. When they called me up for the eulogy, my legs felt like water. I'd written something the night before about Dad teaching me to ride a bike, about Sunday pancakes, about how he never missed one of my school plays. Normal daughter stuff, safe stuff. But standing there, looking at all those expectant faces, something snapped. My father was the most honest man I knew. My voice cracked. He kept every receipt, recorded every expense, taught me that numbers don't lie. I looked at the urn. 2 days ago, I picked up his ashes from Brennan Funeral Home. They weighed 4.2 pounds. My father weighed 200 pounds. The ashes should weigh between 6 and 8 pounds. Murmurs rippled through the church. I found an amalgam filling in the ashes. My father never had amalgam fillings. He was allergic to mercury. Celeste. Michael stood up in the front pew, his face red. Not now. When then? After we bury someone else's remains? After we scatter strangers in Dad's favorite fishing spot? Aunt Martha's stage whisper carried across the church. She's having a breakdown. Someone help her. I have proof that Brennan Funeral Home cremated 12 bodies together. 12. In one furnace. Then divided the ashes and gave them to families who paid for individual cremation. The priest stepped forward. Perhaps we should take a moment. I don't even know if this is him. The words ripped out of me. I don't know if this is my father. Michael was at the podium now, arm around my shoulders, pulling me away. Come on, let's get some air. He steered me out the side door into the parking lot. The cold February air hit my lungs. What the hell are you doing? You're embarrassing Dad's memory. They mixed his ashes with strangers. You don't know that. I pulled out my phone, showed him the email with the cremation log. He read it once, twice, 3 times. Holy shit. Yeah, 12 bodies. All cremated at 6 a.m. But look at the timestamps on the individual certificates. 8:15, 10:30, 2:15, all throughout the day. Michael sat down on the church steps, put his head in his hands. What do we do? I don't know. The police won't help. State board has a 6-week wait. We could hear the priest inside trying to continue the service. Michael stood up. We should go back in. I can't look at that urn. Then we leave it here tonight. Pick it up tomorrow when everyone's gone. We slipped back in through the side door, sat in the back row. People kept turning to stare at me, the crazy daughter who ruined her father's memorial. My phone vibrated at 7 that night. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Celeste Matthews? Harold Brennan's voice was ice. What do you want? You've made a serious mistake. That little performance at the church? People are talking. Good. I've been in this business 30 years. I know every judge in this county. I know the police chief. His mother's service was here last year. Is that a threat? It's reality. You want to destroy my reputation? I will bury you in legal fees, defamation, slander, emotional distress. Your father was a good man. Don't tarnish his memory with your conspiracy theories. My conspiracy theories have documentation. Documentation from a disgruntled employee who was fired for theft. Oh yes, I know who sent you that email. Janet Wu. Bitter little girl who couldn't follow simple rules. The weight discrepancy proves nothing. Bodies vary. Cremation is an inexact science. Any expert will testify to that, my experts. The ones I've worked with for decades. The line went dead. The next morning, my phone rang during my first cup of coffee. Celeste? It's Tom from HR. We need you to come in. There's been a concern raised about your well-being. I'd worked at Hendricks Accounting for 6 years, never missed a deadline, never had a complaint. Now I was sitting across from Tom and our department head, Sandra, like I'd embezzled money. Someone called yesterday saying you're having a mental health crisis, Tom said. That you had a psychotic break at your father's memorial service. Who called? They preferred to remain anonymous. They said you were making wild accusations, that grief has caused you to lose touch with reality. My father's funeral home mixed his ashes with other bodies. I have proof. Sandra and Tom exchanged looks. Celeste, you've been through a traumatic 8 months. Your father's illness, his death. No one would blame you for struggling. I'm not struggling. I'm reporting fraud. We're putting you on mandatory grief leave, 2 weeks minimum. You need time to process everything. You're suspending me? It's paid leave, for your own good. I was in the parking lot when Michael called. Sarah's boss just called. Someone reported that our family situation is unstable. They're concerned about her work performance. What? And the kids' school called. They want to meet about the concerning family environment. What the hell is happening? My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. Stop now or we release your father's medical records showing his psychiatric hospitalization. Mental illness runs in families, doesn't it? I sat in my car, hands shaking. Dad had been hospitalized once. In 1987, depression after losing his job. He'd been 28 years old, 40 years ago, and Harold Brennan somehow knew about it. That night, I created a fake Facebook account, Jennifer Smith, generic photo from Google. Started searching obituaries from the last 3 years. Every single one that mentioned Brennan Funeral Home, I sent the same message. I'm investigating concerns about cremation services at Brennan Funeral Home. Did you notice anything unusual about the weight or appearance of your loved one's ashes? Nothing. 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 Then at midnight, a response. Oh my God, yes, my husband was 250 pounds. The ashes weighed 3.8 pounds. Brennan said it was normal. I knew something was wrong. Another message popped up. We found a surgical pin in Mom's ashes. She never had surgery, never broke a bone in her life. By morning, I had 23 responses. By the next evening, 47. My wife was allergic to nickel. Found nickel dental work in her ashes. Dad was 300 pounds. Ashes weighed 4.1 pounds. Found pieces of medical implants. My mother never had implants. I created a private Facebook group. Called it Brennan Funeral Home Truth. Added everyone who'd responded. Within an hour, someone named Kelly Green joined. Posted immediately. I have documentation, internal memos, cremation logs, 3 years worth. I messaged her privately. Who are you? Someone who knows what Harold's been doing. Can't use my real name. He has connections everywhere. She sent a photo, a cremation schedule from 2019, 15 bodies, 1 cremation, 15 separate certificates issued throughout the week, another from 2020, 18 bodies, 22 bodies in 1 batch. How long has this been happening? At least 11 years, maybe longer. How do you have these? I kept copies of everything, insurance, in case I ever needed to protect myself. Janet? The typing dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. We need to meet. Not here, not anywhere near here. Where? Murphy's Diner, 2 towns over, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Come alone and watch for anyone following you. I scrolled through the group posts. 47 families, 47 stories of impossible weights, wrong materials, missing implants, each one thinking they were alone, each one told they were imagining things. Patricia Morrison wrote, "The funeral director said I was being hysterical. That grief was making me paranoid." James Chen, "They threatened to sue me for slander when I complained." Maria Santos, "I paid $3,200 for individual cremation. My mother deserved dignity. The group grew to 60 members by morning, then 70. Each story worse than the last. Harold Brennan had been doing this for over a decade, hundreds of families, thousands of bodies, millions in fraud, and until now, he'd gotten away with all of it." Murphy's Diner sat on Route 47, the kind of place truckers stopped at 3 in the morning for eggs and coffee that could strip paint. I got there 20 minutes early, parked where I could see every car coming in. Janet pulled up at exactly 2 o'clock in a beat-up Honda. She sat in her car for 5 minutes before getting out, checking every direction twice. Inside, she picked the booth in the back corner, back to the wall, view of both exits. "You weren't followed?" she asked before I even sat down. "I don't think so." "You don't think so, or you weren't?" "I wasn't." She ordered coffee, black. Her hands shook when she lifted the cup. "I worked at Brennan's for 3 years. Started as receptionist. Good pay. Harold seemed nice, grandfatherly." "When did you know?" 6 months in. I was filing cremation certificates and noticed the times didn't match. Asked Robert about it. He said it was a clerical error. Told me to change them." "And you did?" "At first, I needed the job. My mom has MS, medical bills." She stared at her coffee. "But then I started paying attention. Every Sunday night, Harold and Robert would come in after closing. Every Monday morning, there'd be ashes to divide." "Divide?" "They had this system. Bodies collected all week, stored in the cooler. Sunday night, they'd cremate them all together. 10, 15, sometimes 20 at once." 20 bodies? The retort can handle it. They'd just stack them. Then Monday morning, they'd weigh the total ash and divide it by the number of bodies. Everyone got roughly the same amount. My stomach turned. Roughly? A 200-pound man and a 90-pound grandmother would get the exact same weight of ashes, about 4 pounds each. What if families noticed? Most don't. They're grieving, they trust the funeral home, and if anyone complained, Harold had answers. Cremation is variable. Bodies burn differently. Moisture content varies. But you kept records. Janet pulled out her phone, started scrolling through photos. Every cremation log, every altered certificate, 3 years of evidence. She showed me a photo from January 2021, 22 names on the cremation log, all marked 11 p.m. Sunday. "Look at the certificates issued." She swiped to the next photo. Monday, 8 a.m., Tuesday, 2 p.m., Wednesday, 10 a.m., all different times, all claiming individual cremation. How much did they charge? $3,200 for individual, $1,500 for direct cremation. But here's the thing. She leaned closer. Sometimes they'd run out of ash. Run out? 20 bodies might only produce 60 pounds of ash, but they needed 80 pounds to fill all the urns, so they'd add filler. Filler? Wood ash from the fireplace in Harold's office. Sometimes concrete dust from the construction site next door. I saw Robert mixing it in once, like he was making cake batter. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. There's more. The medical implants, the dental work, the surgical pins. They're supposed to be removed and returned to the family or properly disposed. Harold sells them. Sells them? To scrap metal dealers. Titanium hips can bring good money. Gold teeth even more. I have photos of him meeting with buyers. She showed me another picture. Harold in the parking lot, handing a box to someone in a van. Why didn't you report this earlier? To who? Harold's nephew is a sheriff's deputy. His lawyer plays golf with 3 judges. The state inspector, Dennis Cole, comes by every month for his envelope. Envelope? $2,000 cash. I've seen Harold hand it to him personally, right in his office. No shame. You could have gone to the FBI. With what proof? My word against his 30-year reputation? Plus, she paused. He has things on people. Family secrets, medical records, psychiatric histories, things people tell funeral directors in confidence, like my father's hospitalization. He keeps files, not just business files, personal files, blackmail files. The waitress refilled our coffee. Janet waited until she was gone. "I need you to contact someone. Dr. Thomas Patel at the university. He's a forensic anthropologist. Why? He can prove everything. DNA analysis will show multiple profiles in each urn, prove the ashes are mixed. That's scientific evidence Harold can't explain away. Will he help? He lost his aunt last year. Brennan handled the cremation. Her ashes weighed 3.8 pounds. She was 170 pounds. Janet wrote his number on a napkin. He's waiting for your call. What about you? Will you testify? Harold knows I sent you that first email. If I testify, I'm done. My mom's medical insurance is through my new job. I can't lose it." She stood up, dropped a 20 on the table. "There are 800 families, Celeste. Maybe more. 11 years of this. I called Dr. Patel from the parking lot of Murphy's Diner and drove straight to the university. His lab was in the basement of the anthropology building. Fluorescent lights, chemical smell, bones laid out on metal tables like puzzle pieces waiting to be solved. You must be Celeste." He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, thick glasses, careful hands. Janet called me. She said you have remains that need testing. I handed him the small sample jar I'd filled from my father's urn. My hands shook. I need to know if these ashes contain multiple people. He held the jar up to the light, swirled it slightly. When did your father pass? December 18th. Brennan Funeral Home? Yes. He set the jar down carefully. My aunt died there last April. She weighed 170 pounds. Her ashes weighed 3.8 pounds. Did you test them? I wanted to. My family thought I was being disrespectful. They scattered her at the beach before I could convince them. He picked up the jar again. I've been waiting for someone like you. How long will the testing take? 72 hours for full DNA analysis, but I can do preliminary microscopic examination now. He poured a small amount onto a glass slide, adjusted his microscope. Was quiet for a long moment. Come look at this. I looked through the lens, saw what looked like tiny fragments of different colors and textures. See those variations in color? The different fragment sizes? Human cremains should be relatively uniform after proper processing. This shows multiple cremation events, different temperatures, different durations. And he moved to another microscope. This is what individual cremation looks like. The sample was uniform, consistent color, same fragment size. This is from a body donation we processed last month. One person, one cremation. Back to my father's sample. Now look at this again. The difference was obvious, like comparing pure sand to mixed gravel. I'll run the DNA analysis, but I can tell you now these remains contain multiple individuals, at least 3, maybe more. How can you be sure? He pulled out a magnifying glass, poured more ash onto a clean surface, started sorting through it with tweezers. Look here. He isolated a small fragment. This is dental amalgam, silver filling. He found another piece. This is porcelain. Dental crown, different materials from different dental work. He kept sorting, found a tiny shard of metal. Surgical steel, from a pin or plate, another fragment. This looks like titanium, different medical implant. My father never had surgery, never broke a bone. Then this isn't your father's. He found another piece. See this white substance? That's not bone. That's limestone, concrete dust. Concrete? Probably used as filler when they ran short of actual remains. He looked up from the sample. This is criminal. The funeral industry has minimal oversight, but this crosses every ethical and legal line. Will you put that in writing? I'll do better. I'll create a full forensic report, university letterhead, my credentials, chain of custody documentation, DNA profiles, everything that would hold up in court. He started photographing each fragment, labeling them, creating an evidence file. The DNA analysis will show at least 4 distinct genetic profiles. I guarantee it. This is forensic proof of commingling. Why 4? The fragment patterns. The burn temperatures. See how some pieces are more calcified than others? Some were cremated at higher heat, longer duration. These aren't from the same cremation event. He sealed the remaining sample in an evidence bag, labeled it with the date and time. I'll have preliminary DNA results in 24 hours, full profiles in 72. I'll also test for non-human additives. Wood ash, concrete, whatever else they mixed in. What made you suspect your aunt's ashes were wrong? Weight was the first clue. But also instinct. I've been studying human remains for 15 years. Something felt off. The texture, the color. Like you with your father. Sometimes you just know. He handed me a receipt for the sample. Official university documentation. Harold Brennan has been doing this for years, hasn't he? At least 11 years, according to the records I've seen. Hundreds of families. Maybe more. Dr. Patel walked me to my car. When this comes out, when people realize what he's done, it's going to destroy faith in the entire funeral industry. Good. Celeste, be careful. Men like Harold don't go down without a fight. He's going to come after you hard. That evening, someone knocked on my door. Robert Brennan stood on my porch. Harold's son, 32 years old, still working for Daddy, still looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Can I come in? Why? Dad doesn't know I'm here. I let him in but didn't offer him a seat. He stood in my living room, fidgeting with his phone. I want to help. What my father's doing, it's wrong. I've wanted out for years. So leave. It's not that simple. He owns everything. The house I live in, my car, everything's in his name. What do you want from me? I'll testify. Tell them everything. The mass cremations, the mixing, the filler, all of it. Something felt off. The way he kept touching his phone, adjusting it in his pocket. Why now? Because you're actually doing something. The other families who complained, Dad scared them off. But you're different. You're not backing down. He pulled his phone out, checked the screen, put it back. But not all the way. The top was sticking out of his pocket, the camera lens facing me. Tell me what you know about the cremations, he said. You first. I already told you, mass cremations, mixing ashes. Tell me something specific, something only you would know. He shifted his weight. Like what? Like what happens on Sunday nights. Sunday nights? You tell me. His hand moved to his pocket again, adjusted the phone. We do cremations. We? Or your father? My father. He does cremations. Alone? I don't remember. I walked to the window, pretended to look outside. There's a car parked down the street. Blue sedan. Is that yours? I drove my truck. But through the window, I could see a blue sedan. Engine running, someone sitting inside. I think you should leave. Wait. Just tell me what evidence you have, so I know what I can corroborate. Get out. He pulled out his phone completely now. No pretense. Just tell me who sent you those emails. Was it Janet Wu? Leave. Now. He walked to the door, stopped. You're making a mistake. I could have helped you. I watched him walk to his truck, but before he got in, he looked at the blue sedan, made a hand gesture, then drove away. The sedan stayed. I went to the kitchen, could hear voices from outside, crept to the side window. Robert was back, standing by the sedan. The window was down. She didn't admit to anything, Dad. Harold's voice carried in the cold night air. Did you record it? Yeah, but it's useless. She knew something was up. That little bitch thinks she's smart. What now? Now we bury her. They drove away. Both cars. Left me standing in my dark kitchen, shaking. 6 a.m, certified mail arrived. Had to sign for it. Cease and desist letter from Harold's attorney. Stop spreading false and defamatory statements about Brennan Funeral Home. Stop contacting families. Stop interfering with business operations. Second envelope. Thicker. Harold Brennan versus Celeste Matthews, lawsuit for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, tortious interference with business relations, seeking $500,000 in damages. The last page made my blood cold. Documentation of my father's psychiatric hospitalization in 1987. His prescription history, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder suspected but never confirmed. A handwritten note at the bottom in Harold's writing. Mental illness runs in families. Who will believe the crazy daughter of a crazy man? Stop now or everyone will know what you really are. They knew what I was doing. They knew about the Facebook group. They knew about Dr. Patel. They knew everything. The lawsuit arrived 3 days later with a process server who looked apologetic. $500,000. Harold was suing me for defamation, malicious interference with business, intentional infliction of emotional distress. My hands shook reading through 60 pages of legal threats. I called my bank to transfer money for a lawyer. The account was frozen. There's a legal hold on your accounts, the representative said. Pending litigation. All my accounts? Checking, savings, and your credit cards show a freeze request. I had $800 cash in my wallet. That was it. I called 6 law firms. The first 3 wanted 10,000 retainers. The 4th laughed when I mentioned Harold Brennan. We don't take cases against him. The 5th and 6th didn't even return my calls. Legal aid finally called back. We don't handle defamation cases. Try the Bar Association's referral service. The Bar Association wanted a $200 consultation fee just to maybe find someone who might take my case. Michael showed up that afternoon with his laptop and a folder of bank documents. I'm mortgaging the house. You can't do that. Already started the paperwork. Equity line of credit. $60,000. Michael, no, you have kids. And you have Dad's ashes mixed with strangers. We're fixing this. I called Mom. She divorced Dad 15 years ago, but they'd stayed friendly. I need help with legal fees. Silence. Then, let the dead rest, Celeste. Mom, they mixed his ashes with other bodies. Your father is gone. Nothing you do will bring him back. This isn't about bringing him back. Then what is it about? Revenge? Drama? You always were too much like him. Too intense. Too obsessed with being right. She hung up. That night, Facebook notified me the Brennan Funeral Home Truth Group had been removed for violating community standards, harassment, bullying, defamation. Patricia Morrison texted me. My husband says I can't be involved anymore. We can't afford a lawsuit. James Chen. My lawyer says to stop all contact immediately. Maria Santos. I'm sorry. I have to think about my family. In 48 hours, the group went from 93 members to 12, then 8, then 4. Michael's equity line came through, but the bank would only approve $30,000. The cheapest lawyer who'd even look at the case wanted $20,000 up front. That leaves $10,000 for everything else, Michael said. What everything else? Expert witnesses, court fees, depositions, transcripts. The lawyer Stan Kowalski was honest at least. Harold Brennan owns this town. His nephew's a deputy. His lawyer golfs with half the judges. You're looking at 2 years minimum of legal battles. 2 years? If you're lucky. He'll file motion after motion. Bury you in paperwork. Drag out every deposition. Make it so expensive you'll beg to settle. What about criminal charges? For what? Mixing ashes isn't explicitly illegal in this state. Fraud maybe, but the prosecutor would need ironclad evidence. I have evidence. From a fired employee and some Facebook complaints, Harold will tear that apart. Dr. Patel's DNA analysis proves multiple remains in one urn. Stan leaned back. DNA analysis from one sample, Harold will say it was contaminated. Cross-contamination from the lab, improper handling. You need multiple samples from multiple families tested by multiple labs. That costs money. Everything costs money. That's how Harold wins. He makes justice too expensive for normal people. I signed the retainer agreement anyway. $20,000 for a lawyer who basically said we'd probably lose. That night, I sat in Dad's empty bedroom. His reading chair still smelled like him. Old Spice and coffee. I found his journal in the nightstand. His handwriting, shaky from the cancer treatments. I don't want a fancy funeral. Just cremation. Simple, peaceful. Simple, peaceful. Instead, his death had destroyed my job, my finances, my relationship with my family. My phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. Drop the lawsuit or we release everything. Your father's medications, his therapy notes, his suicide attempt in 1987, your whole family's mental health history. Think about your brother's kids reading about their grandfather's psychosis. I turned off my phone and cried. Week 3 of the legal battle, and I hadn't slept more than 2 hours straight in days. My eyes burned from staring at legal documents I couldn't understand. Motions to compel, requests for production, interrogatories. Stan kept sending them over, each one requiring a response that cost $500 in billable hours. I'd lost 15 pounds, not from dieting, from forgetting to eat, from the constant knot in my stomach that made food taste like cardboard. Clumps of hair came out in the shower, found them on my pillow, on my clothes. Michael brought groceries twice a week, paid for them with his credit card since mine were frozen. I was living on his money, eating his food, destroying his financial future. HR called, I told him when he came by Thursday. They're extending my leave indefinitely. That's illegal. No, it's not. They're not firing me. just suggesting I take all the time I need to deal with my personal crisis. Unpaid, of course. Those bastards. Harold probably knows someone there too. That afternoon, Derek came by. We'd been together 2 years, talked about moving in together. Marriage, kids eventually. He sat on my couch with his hands clasped, looking at the floor. I can't do this anymore. Do what? This obsession, it's all you talk about. Harold Brennan, cremations, DNA evidence. Your dad's been gone 2 months and you can't let him rest. They mixed his ashes with strangers. I know, you've told me 1,000 times. But what if you're wrong? What if the weight thing is normal? What if that filling was your dad's? It wasn't. You don't know that for sure. Dr. Patel's test, one test, from one scientist. Who might be wrong? He stood up. I loved your dad, but he's gone, and you're letting Harold Brennan destroy your life. So you're leaving. I can't watch you do this to yourself. When you're ready to move on, call me. He left. Just like that, 2 years gone. I sat in Dad's room that night, his reading chair, his bookshelf, his journals lined up by year. I opened 2023. His handwriting got shakier as the cancer progressed. March. Celeste is so strong, taking care of everything. July. I don't want to fuss when I go. October. Simple cremation. No viewing, just let me rest. December 10th, 8 days before he died. I hope Celeste doesn't make this harder than it needs to be. She always fought my battles for me. This time, I just want peace. I sobbed. Full body, can't breathe sobs. He wanted simple, peaceful. Instead, I'd turned his death into a war. My phone buzzed. Janet. Robert recorded me today. Pretended he needed cremation schedule. Got me talking about the Sunday night burns. I'm scared. 3 more texts came in rapid succession. Patricia Morrison. Withdrawing complaint. Can't risk lawsuit. Sorry. James Chen. My wife says we're out. Good luck. Maria Santos. Harold's lawyer contacted me. I can't be involved anymore. And the Facebook group was dead. The families were scared. Janet was in danger. And I was broke. Stan called the next morning. Harold's lawyer made an offer. What offer? $20,000 to drop everything. Sign an NDA. Public apology stating you were mistaken due to grief. Public apology? Posted in the newspaper. On social media, admitting you made false accusations while emotionally compromised. I have to say I lied. That you were mistaken, grief-stricken, not thinking clearly. Michael was there. He'd heard the whole call. Take it. What? Take the money. Pay me back some of what I borrowed. Move on. You want me to let him win? I want you to survive this. Look at yourself. You've lost your job, your boyfriend, your health. Mom won't talk to you. Is proving Harold Brennan is a monster worth losing everything? Dad deserves justice. Dad's dead. He doesn't deserve anything. He can't feel anything. But you're alive. And you're killing yourself over ashes that might not even be his. You think I'm wrong? I think you're destroying yourself. And I can't watch it anymore. Take the deal or I'm done too. The ultimatum hung in the air. My brother, my last ally, ready to walk away. Harold Brennan had won without even going to trial. I sat at Stan's office with the settlement papers in front of me, pen shaking in my hand. Sign here and here, Stan said. Initial here. Then it's over. $20,000, public apology. Admit I was wrong. My phone rang. Dr. Patel, don't sign anything yet. Why? I've been contacted by someone named Robert Brennan. He wants to meet. Says he has information you need. It's a trap. He tried recording me last week. He sounded desperate. Said to meet him at the Route 80 rest stop. Alone, in 1 hour. I looked at Stan, at the papers, at Michael sitting next to me. I have to go. Don't be stupid, Michael said. Sign the papers. 1 hour. If I'm not back, sign them yourself. The rest stop was 40 minutes away. Nearly empty at 3 in the afternoon. Robert's truck was parked by the picnic tables. He was sitting on a bench, head in his hands. He looked up when I approached. His face was wrecked. Red eyes. Hadn't shaved in days. I can't do this anymore. Do what? Any of it. The lying, the mixing, watching families cry while knowing what we did to their loved ones. He pulled out a flash drive. 11 years, not 3. My father's been doing this for 11 years. How do you know? Because I've been keeping the real books. He handed me the drive. QuickBooks files, every cremation, every family, every fraud. I plugged it into my phone. The numbers were staggering. 800 families? 843, 2.6 million in fraudulent charges. Jesus. There's more. He pulled out a folder. State inspection reports, all clean, all signed by Dennis Cole. The inspector? Look at the back. Photocopies of canceled checks, $2,000 every month, 12 months a year, for 6 years. Your father's been bribing him? Since 2018, maybe longer. Robert pulled out his phone, played a recording, his father's voice. Dennis gets his envelope first of the month. Don't forget. Robert's voice. What if he wants more? Then remind him about that DUI I made disappear, about his daughter's drug arrest I kept quiet. Robert stopped the recording. There's hours of these, Dad talking about the families, laughing about how stupid they are, how grief makes them easy targets. Why now? Why tell me? Because I found out something yesterday. His voice cracked. My mom. She died 5 years ago. Cancer. Dad handled the cremation himself. Said he'd do it special, just for her. He started crying. Actually crying. I found her cremation record yesterday, December 24th, 2019. 12 bodies. She was mixed with 11 strangers. My own mother. Robert? I helped him. For years, I helped him. I mixed those ashes. I divided them up. I handed them to families. He was sobbing now. I gave someone else my mother's ashes. Someone else has pieces of her. He handed me another flash drive. This one has my confession. 3 hours of everything. Names, dates, process, where the dental gold goes, where the titanium gets sold. You'll go to prison. Maybe. Probably. I don't care anymore. He stood up. I'm leaving tonight, getting in my truck and driving until I can't anymore. Harold will come after you. Let him. I've got copies of everything. If anything happens to me, it all goes to the FBI, state police, every news station. He walked to his truck, turned back. Your father. December 18th. He was in the batch with Walter Morrison, Betty Chen, Agnes Williams, and 8 others. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. He drove away. Left me standing there with 2 flash drives that could destroy Harold Brennan. I called Stan from the car. Don't file the settlement. Celeste. I have everything. Real book showing 800 victims, confession from Robert, evidence of bribing state inspectors. How solid. QuickBooks files, canceled checks, 3 hours of recorded confession. Holy shit. Yeah. Bring it all to my office. Now. Stan? Yeah? We're going to destroy him. Stan listened to Robert's confession for 3 minutes before calling the state attorney general himself. By that evening, Dr. Patel had sent our evidence to Channel 7. He didn't tell me, just did it. Said later he couldn't stand watching Harold play victim. The story aired at 6. Dozens of families claim Brennan Funeral Home mixed their loved ones' ashes. We've obtained DNA evidence showing multiple genetic profiles in single urns, along with documents suggesting systematic fraud spanning over a decade. My phone exploded. Reporters, families, people I hadn't talked to in years. The health department called at 8. We're reviewing Brennan Funeral Home's licenses effective immediately. At 9, the state attorney general's office. We need to meet tomorrow. Bring everything. At 10, someone from the FBI. Interstate fraud is federal jurisdiction. Several families were from Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Harold went on Channel 12 at 11, sitting in his office, American flag behind him, playing the persecuted businessman. I've served this community for 30 years. Now I'm being attacked by an unstable woman whose family has a history of mental illness. He held up papers. Celeste Matthews' father was hospitalized for psychiatric issues in 1987, suicidal ideation, bipolar disorder. This is a vendetta by a disturbed individual. The reporter asked about the DNA evidence. 1 contaminated sample from 1 biased scientist. My experts will prove this is nonsense. Michael turned off the TV. He's getting desperate. He's destroying Dad's memory on television. Which means he's scared. My phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Matthews? This is Agent Torres with the FBI. We're coordinating with state authorities for an emergency inspection tomorrow, 9 a.m. Can you be there? Yes. Bring witnesses. The more families, the better. I posted in what was left of our Facebook group. Within an hour, 30 families confirmed they'd come. 8:45 the next morning, I stood outside Brennan Funeral Home with 30 other people. Patricia Morrison was back. I saw him on TV, Screw being scared. James Chen brought his whole family. My mother deserves justice. Media trucks lined the street, Channel 4, 7, 12, even some national outlets. At 9 exactly, 3 state vehicles pulled up. Inspectors, health department, state police. Harold stood in the doorway, arms crossed. You need a warrant. Inspector Williams, not Dennis Cole, held up a paper. Emergency inspection order, stand aside. Harold pulled out his phone. Get here now, he barked at his lawyer. The inspectors walked past him. Harold followed, protesting every step. They headed for the crematorium building. Then the fire alarm went off. Ear-piercing. Strobe lights. Harold ran out shouting, "Electrical fire!" Everyone out. We evacuated to the parking lot. The inspectors looked suspicious, but followed protocol. Fire trucks arrived in 4 minutes. Firefighters ran inside with equipment. 10 minutes later, the fire chief came out. No fire. But there's extensive water damage. Water damage? Inspector Williams asked. Sprinkler system activated. Whole back building is flooded. We followed them inside. The records room was destroyed. Water everywhere. Computers sparking. Papers floating like dead fish. The cremation logs, I said. He destroyed them. Harold stood there, trying to look shocked. Must have been a malfunction. These old buildings, you know. Inspector Williams wasn't buying it. Convenient malfunction. Are you suggesting something? I'm suggesting we need those records you just destroyed. Destroyed? This was an accident. My insurance. Mr. Brennan, step outside, please. This is my property. Step outside or you'll be arrested for obstruction. Harold's lawyer finally arrived, started arguing about proper procedures, due process, Fourth Amendment rights. While they argued, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. Check your email. Melissa. I opened it. The subject line, you need this now. Attached were audio files. Dozens of them. All labeled with dates. I played one quietly. Harold's voice. Another busy night. 18 bodies at once. That's a new record. Robert's voice. Dad, the Morrison family is asking about the weight again. Tell them their mother was small-boned. They'll believe anything when they're crying. Both men laughing. Another file. Harold on the phone. Dennis, I need you to sign off on these inspection reports. Yes, all clean. Your envelope will be bigger this month. Another, this one from yesterday. Start the sprinklers manually if they show up. Destroy everything. We'll claim electrical problems. I walked up to Inspector Williams, showed him my phone. I just received evidence of Harold ordering the destruction of documents, recorded yesterday. He listened for 30 seconds. His face went dark. Mr. Brennan, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice and destruction of evidence. Harold's mouth fell open. You can't. Hands behind your back. While Harold was being handcuffed, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Unknown number. Then another text. Answer your phone, Melissa. I stepped away from the chaos and answered. You don't know me, but I dated Robert for 2 years. I have something you need. Who is this? Melissa Chen, Robert's ex. Can we meet, like right now? 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a Starbucks with a woman who looked exhausted. She had a laptop bag and kept checking the door. Robert doesn't know I'm doing this. She pulled out an external hard drive. I recorded Harold for months. Why? Because Robert would come home crying. Literally crying about what they did that day. I wanted evidence in case he ever got the courage to turn his father in. She opened her laptop. Hundreds of audio files, all labeled with dates. Listen to this one. Harold's voice filled her headphones, clear as day. Another group cremation tonight, 19 bodies. These families are so stupid, they actually believe their precious mommy is getting individual treatment. Someone laughed in the background. Not Robert. One of the employees. The Martinez family complained about the weight again. Told them their father had osteoporosis. Lighter bones. They bought it immediately. More laughter. Grief makes people idiots. They'll believe anything if you say it with enough sympathy. I felt sick. Melissa clicked another file, this one from 3 months ago. Dennis is getting nervous about the inspections. Remind him about his daughter's cocaine arrest, the one I made disappear. He'll sign anything. Another file, Harold on the phone. Listen, Dennis, I own you. Remember that DUI I kept quiet? Your wife still doesn't know, does she? So you'll sign these inspection reports or I'll make sure everyone knows what you did that night, including the 14-year-old girl you hit. Dennis Cole's voice, barely audible. I'll sign them. Good boy. Your envelope's in the usual place. Melissa had tears in her eyes. There's more. So much more. She clicked a folder labeled Training. Harold's voice again, talking to employees. When you divide the ashes, use the scale. 4 pounds per urn. Doesn't matter if grandma was 90 pounds or dad was 300. Everyone gets 4 pounds. What if we run short? An employee asked. Fireplace in my office has plenty of wood ash. Sometimes I grab a bucket of dust from the construction site next door. Mix it in. They'll never know. Another employee. Isn't that illegal? Only if someone proves it. And who's going to DNA test grandma's ashes? Nobody. Melissa closed the laptop. I have 11 hours of recordings. Harold discussing every detail. Laughing about families crying. Joking about selling gold teeth to pawn shops. Why didn't you report this earlier? With what proof that I obtained legally? I'm not married to Robert. These recordings might not be admissible. But they prove everything. There's more. She pulled out her phone. Robert gave me access to his cloud storage before he left. As insurance. She logged in, showed me folders. 11 years of QuickBooks files. The real ones. Not the ones they showed the IRS. Look at 2019. I scrolled through. Found December 24th. Robert's mother's cremation date. 15 bodies, including Helen Brennan. He mixed his own wife's ashes? He didn't even tell Robert until this week. Robert thought his mom got special treatment. She showed me the financial records. 843 families overcharged. $2.6 million stolen. Every cremation, every fraud, every bribe to Dennis Cole. It's all here. Can I have copies? She handed me the external drive. Everything's on there. Audio files, financial records, even emails between Harold and his lawyer discussing how to intimidate families who complained. What about Robert? He's gone. Left the state last night, sent me one text. Make sure she gets everything. He meant me? He said you're the only one who didn't give up. The only one Harold couldn't scare off. She stood to leave, stopped. There's one more recording you need to hear. She played it on her phone, Harold's voice from just 2 days ago. If that Matthews bitch doesn't back down, we'll have to do more than threaten her. Maybe a house fire, electrical problem, tragic accident, grief-stricken woman, unbalanced, forgets to turn off the stove. My blood went cold. He was planning to kill me? Or at least burn your house down. Melissa put her phone away. Robert heard that and knew he had to act. That's when he decided to meet with you. She left. I sat there with an external drive that contained enough evidence to destroy Harold Brennan forever. I called Agent Torres from the FBI. I have 11 years of financial records and 11 hours of recordings. How soon can you get them to us? 20 minutes. We'll be waiting. The FBI field office was 20 minutes from Starbucks, but I made it in 15. Agent Torres was waiting in the lobby with 2 other agents. Miss Matthews, thank you for coming so quickly. They led me to a conference room, computer screens everywhere, recording equipment, evidence bags. May I? Torres held out his hand for the drive. I handed it over. My hands were steady now. No shaking, no fear, just cold determination. He plugged it in, started playing Harold's recordings. The agents' faces changed with each file. Disgust, anger, disbelief. This is 11 years worth? 11 years, 843 families, $2.6 million in fraud. The door burst open. A woman in a suit walked in. I'm Assistant U.S. Attorney Sarah Walsh. We're filing federal charges immediately. Federal? Interstate commerce fraud, families from 3 states, plus bribery of a state official. That's our jurisdiction. Another agent came in. We've got movement. Dennis Cole is at Newark Airport, Terminal C. Stop him, Walsh ordered. Now. The agent left. Walsh turned to me. We need you to testify before the grand jury, day after tomorrow. I'll be there. Miss Matthews, you should know Harold Brennan posted bail an hour ago. My stomach dropped. He's out? State charges only. Once we file federal charges, he won't get bail again. But for the next 48 hours, be careful. Torres assigned an agent to drive me home. Check my house. Make sure I was safe. By the time I got there, the news had exploded. Every channel, every website. Brennan Funeral Home shut down by state order. Owner arrested in massive cremation fraud. FBI investigating 11 years of mixed remains. My phone rang constantly. Reporters, families, people I'd never heard of claiming their loved ones were cremated there. Michael came over with Chinese food. We ate in silence, watching the news. State Inspector Dennis Cole arrested at airport attempting to flee. The footage showed Cole in handcuffs covering his face. 3 Brennan employees agreed to testify for immunity. Their lawyer on screen. My clients were following orders. They'll cooperate fully with authorities. At 9 p.m., Stan called. 137 families have joined the class action as of tonight. Only 137? So far. By tomorrow, it'll be 300. By next week, 500. What about criminal charges? 47 counts so far. Fraud, desecration of human remains, bribery, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. Will he go to prison? Celeste, with what you've given them? He'll die in prison. I should have felt victorious, relieved. Instead, I just felt empty. My father's ashes were still mixed with strangers. Nothing would change that. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept checking the locks, the windows. Every car that drove by made me jump. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You think you've won? But I know where you live, where your brother lives, where his kids go to school. This isn't over. I called Torres immediately. Harold's threatening me. We're tracing it now. Pack a bag. We're moving you to a hotel until after the grand jury. 20 minutes later, an FBI agent was at my door. Badge out, gun visible. Miss Matthews? Agent Chen. Let's go. I grabbed clothes. Dad's journal. The urn I didn't even know who was inside. As we pulled away, I saw a car parked down the street. Engine running, lights off. That him? Chen asked. I don't know. Chen called for backup. 2 minutes later, sirens everywhere. They pulled Harold Brennan out of the car. He had a gas can in his trunk, matches in his pocket. He was going to burn my house down. Not anymore, Chen said. He just violated bail conditions. He's going back to jail. No bail this time. The next morning, every paper led with the story. Funeral home owner arrested again. Attempted witness intimidation. 800 families affected by cremation fraud. FBI seizes funeral home records in massive investigation. By noon, 212 families had contacted Stan about joining the lawsuit. By 3 p.m., the state attorney general held a press conference. This is the largest funeral fraud case in state history. We're committed to justice for every family affected. The camera panned to the families behind her, dozens of them, all holding pictures of their loved ones, all wondering whose ashes they really had. 2 days later, I sat outside the grand jury room in a federal courthouse watching families arrive. The prosecutor, Sarah Walsh, met me in the hallway. 3 hours, maybe 4. Just tell them everything, chronologically. Use your accounting skills to walk them through the evidence. Inside, 23 grand jurors stared at me. Regular people, teachers, plumbers, retirees, people who understood loss. I started with the weight, 4.2 pounds, the amalgam filling, the cremation log showing 12 bodies burned together. I projected each document on the screen, showed them the QuickBooks files. 843 families defrauded, 2.6 million stolen. Then I played Harold's recordings. His voice filled the room, laughing about stupid grieving families. The jurors' faces changed. Disgust. Rage. One woman covered her mouth. After 90 minutes, other families testified. Patricia Morrison went first. My husband was 250 pounds. His ashes weighed 3.8. Harold told me I was hysterical. James Chen broke down describing finding surgical pins in his mother's ashes. She never had surgery, never broke a bone. Those pins belonged to someone else's parent. Maria Santos sobbed uncontrollably. I scattered those ashes in the ocean. In Mexico, where my mother was born. I don't even know who I said goodbye to. I don't know if any of her is there. An elderly man named Walter Thompson stood up without being called. My wife had Alzheimer's. At the end, she didn't know me. But I knew her. 53 years married, and now I don't even know if I have her ashes or some strangers. The room was silent, except for crying. 3 hours in, they played Robert's confession. His voice hollow, broken, detailing 11 years of mixing bodies, dividing ashes, adding wood ash when they ran short. The final witness was Dr. Patel. He explained the DNA evidence. 4 distinct genetic profiles in one urn, concrete dust, wood ash, scientific proof of the mixing. When we finished, the lead juror had tears streaming down her face. Outside, media surrounded the courthouse, cameras everywhere, reporters shoving microphones at anyone who'd talk. Miss Matthews, how does it feel to bring down Harold Brennan? I kept walking. Stan stepped between me and the cameras. My client has one statement. I turned to face them. We just wanted the truth. These families deserve to know what happened to their loved ones. That's all. Will you accept his apology if he offers one? He hasn't apologized. He's still claiming innocence. Harold's lawyer appeared at the top of the courthouse steps. Marcus Webb, $1,000 suit, perfect hair. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll prove that Celeste Matthews, in her grief-stricken state, manufactured evidence against my client. We'll show that Robert Brennan was coerced, that these recordings were doctored. This isn't over. A reporter shouted at him. Your client was arrested with a gas can at Miss Matthews' house. A misunderstanding. He was returning property. What property? We'll address that at trial. The grand jury deliberated for exactly 47 minutes. Harold Brennan was indicted on 47 federal counts. Fraud, mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, bribery of a public official. Dennis Cole got 16 counts. 3 employees who didn't take immunity deals got charged as co-conspirators. The judge denied bail. Harold Brennan would wait for trial in federal custody. That night, I sat with Michael watching the news. Every channel led with the story, but I couldn't celebrate. Somewhere, scattered in the ocean off Mexico, were ashes Maria Santos believed were her mother. They probably weren't. 6 months after the indictment, I walked into the federal courthouse for Harold Brennan's trial. He looked like death. Orange jumpsuit hanging off his frame, gray stubble, hollow eyes. The man who'd terrorized me with phone calls and threats was gone. This was just an old man who'd destroyed his life for money. The prosecution went first. Sarah Walsh stood up, all business. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Harold Brennan stole more than money. He stole the last sacred act families could do for their loved ones. He mixed 843 people's remains like they were ingredients in a recipe. Harold stared straight ahead. No emotion, nothing. Walsh called witness after witness. Each employee who'd flipped described the same process. Sunday nights, multiple bodies stacked in the retort. Ashes divided Monday morning by weight, not by person. Day 3, they wheeled in a TV for Robert's video testimony. The screen showed him in an undisclosed location. Background blurred, voice shaking. Every Tuesday night, we'd cremate between 10 and 20 bodies together. Whose decision was this? Walsh asked on the video. My father's. Always my father's. What did he say about families? That they were too stupid to know. Too grief-stricken to question anything. Did you ever object? Once. He said I could find another job. Another place to live. Harold's lawyer Marcus Webb tried to destroy Robert on cross-examination. You're testifying for immunity, correct? For reduced charges. So you'll say anything to avoid prison? I'm telling the truth. Your version of the truth. Robert's voice broke. The truth is, my father made me mix my own mother's ashes with strangers. She died 5 years ago. I just found out last month. The jury looked at Harold. He didn't even blink. Then came Melissa's recordings. Harold's voice filled the courtroom for 2 hours, laughing about grieving families, joking about selling dental gold to pawn shops, instructing employees on mixing ratios. The worst was from January 2023. The Chen family is here again, an employee said. Which ones? The ones asking about the weight. Tell them their mother had osteoporosis. Makes the bones lighter. They'll believe anything when they're crying. You could hear Harold laughing. 3 jurors were crying by the end. Dr. Patel testified about DNA evidence. 4 distinct genetic profiles in my father's urn. Concrete dust, wood ash. This is irrefutable scientific proof of commingling, he said. Dennis Cole took the stand to reduce his own sentence. Described 6 years of monthly bribes, $2,000 cash, fake inspection reports. Harold owned me, Cole said. He knew about my daughter's arrest. My DUI. 1 word from him and my life was over. Harold's defense was pathetic. Webb claimed the cremations were communal by cultural understanding. That mixing was industry standard. That families had given implied consent. He called 2 expert witnesses who said cremation weights could vary. The prosecution destroyed them with actual data from legitimate funeral homes. Harold never took the stand, never said a word. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. On count 1, conspiracy to commit fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On count 2, interstate fraud, we find the defendant guilty. And they read all 47 counts, guilty on every single one. The judge looked at Harold with pure disgust. Mr. Brennan, you turned the most sacred trust between the living and the dead into a business opportunity. You preyed on people at their absolute worst moment. Harold stood for sentencing, still no emotion. 7 years federal prison, $1.8 million restitution, lifetime ban from the funeral industry, 7 years. That's all. Less than a year for every 100 families he destroyed. Harold turned to look at me as the marshals cuffed him, pure hatred in his eyes. Mouthed something I couldn't make out. Outside the courthouse, families hugged, cried, some kind of closure, even if it couldn't undo anything. Maria Santos grabbed my hands, squeezed them. He can't hurt anyone else now. Thank you. But that night, I sat with Dad's urn. 4.2 pounds of strangers. The civil trial was easier than the criminal one. Stan had filed the class action 8 months ago. Now, with Harold in prison, his insurance company wanted to settle fast. They didn't want a jury trial, didn't want more media coverage, just wanted it over. The meeting was in a conference room downtown. 5 insurance lawyers, Stan, me representing the families. $3.2 million, their lead lawyer said. Full policy limits plus the sale of funeral home assets. 843 families, Stan countered. We verified documentation for 412. The rest? Insufficient proof of individual cremation purchase. I slammed my hand on the table. They all paid for individual cremation. But not all kept receipts from 11 years ago. We fought for 6 hours. Finally settled. Families with full documentation would get $15,000. Partial documentation, $10,000. Those with just testimony, $8,000. It wasn't enough. Not even close. But the funeral home was bankrupt. Harold's personal assets were protected by his wife's name from his first marriage 20 years ago. This was all we'd get. I used my $15,000 to pay Michael back part of what he borrowed against his house. He didn't want to take it. Keep it. Start over. I owe you $30,000. You don't owe me anything. But I made him take it. Needed to pay something back. 3 weeks later, I returned to work. Not full-time. Not yet. 20 hours a week. My boss was careful with me. Like I might break. Take whatever time you need. But I needed normal. Needed numbers that added up. Spreadsheets that balanced. The state legislature called me to testify about funeral home regulations. I sat in front of 15 senators and told them about the 4.2 pounds. The amalgam filling. The 12 bodies burned together. They passed Senate Bill 447 within a month. The media called it Celeste's Law. Every funeral home in the state now required to offer witnessed cremation. Families could watch through glass if they wanted. Cameras installed in every crematorium. Footage kept for 5 years. Monthly inspections instead of annual. Real inspections, not Dennis Cole's rubber stamps. Cole got 3 years federal time. Lost his pension. His wife divorced him while he was inside. Took everything. The 3 employees who'd helped Harold got community service, 600 hours each. They had to speak at funeral director conferences about ethics, about what happens when you follow illegal orders. One of them, Tommy Burke, called me after his first speech. I told them about your father, about dividing the ashes, about the wood ash when we ran short. What did they say? Half didn't believe me. Said it couldn't happen, but it did. I know, I was there. I did it. I'll never forgive myself. He hung up before I could respond. The funeral home building sold at auction for $800,000. A Korean church bought it. They're turning it into a community center. The crematorium was demolished, complete demolition, nothing left. I drove by one day, watched the wrecking ball hit the chimney, watched it fall. Dust everywhere. Like ashes. Michael came with me. Feel better? No. Closure? There's no closure. Dad's still mixed with strangers. But Harold's in prison. For 7 years, out in 5 with good behavior. The family's got something. $15,000 for a father, $10,000 for a mother, $8,000 for a grandparent. That's what they're worth? Michael didn't answer. Couldn't answer. That night, I got a call from Patricia Morrison. The check came today. $15,000. I'm sorry it's not more. It's not about money. Never was. But I wanted you to know what I'm doing with it. What? Creating a memorial garden. For all of us, all the families. Since we can't separate the ashes, we'll remember them together. Where? The plot next to Riverside Cemetery. The church is donating the land. How many families? 47 so far. We're planning a dedication ceremony next month. Can I help? You already did. You stopped him. That's enough. But it wasn't enough. Would never be enough. I looked at Dad's urn on my shelf. Harold was in prison, the funeral home was gone, laws were changed, and I still didn't know who was in that urn. The memorial garden dedication was set for a Saturday morning, exactly 1 year after Harold's conviction. 47 families gathered on the plot Patricia Morrison had organized, right next to Riverside Cemetery. 2 acres of empty land that would become something else, something better. Each family brought a small tree, oak, maple, birch, cherry. Patricia had assigned them based on what our loved ones had enjoyed. Dad got a maple. He'd loved the fall colors. We formed a circle, each family holding their tree, their urn, their questions. Before we plant, Patricia said, we need to acknowledge what brings us here. She looked at each of us. We may never know whose ashes we carry. My husband, Walter, was cremated with 14 others. Your father, Celeste, with 11. Maria's mother, with 17. Maria was crying already. She'd never gotten over scattering those ashes in Mexico. But we know this. They're together. All of them. Pieces of each in every urn. We started planting, each family at their designated spot. Michael helped me lower Dad's maple into the ground. The urn would go in with it. 4.2 pounds of someone. Multiple someones. James Chen was next to us planting a cherry tree for his mother. She loved the spring blossoms, he said. The Thompsons planted an oak. 53 years married. She was strong like this tree. When all 47 trees were in the ground, we gathered at the center where a stone monument waited. Patricia had raised money for it. Black granite. Simple. The inscription read, "Together in death as they were in life. May they rest in peace." Patricia asked me to speak. I hadn't prepared anything. We may never know whose ashes we have, I started. Dr. Patel confirmed that. DNA testing shows multiple profiles in every urn. 4 in mine, 6 in Patricia's, 8 in Maria's. I looked at the trees, 47 of them, in rows. But we know they're all here. Every piece of them, together. And we know they're all cared for, all remembered, all loved. I thought I was done. Then I saw her, standing at the edge of our circle, elderly woman, maybe 70, holding a small urn. "Excuse me," she said. "I'm Eleanor Brennan." Everyone froze. That name. Harold's ex-wife, his first wife. Nobody spoke. My mother was cremated there in 2018. Before I knew. Before anyone knew. She was crying now. I scattered what I thought was her at the lake, her favorite spot. But after the trial, after the evidence, I know she wasn't there. Not all of her. And Patricia walked over, put her arm around Eleanor. "She's here," Patricia said. "With all of them." Eleanor nodded. "May I plant a tree?" "I know he was my husband once, but you're a victim too," I said. "Your mother was a victim." We helped Eleanor plant a dogwood at the edge of the circle. Her hands shook as she placed the urn in the ground. She loved dogwoods, said they were tough, survived anything. After the planting, we stood in silence. 48 families, 48 trees, hundreds of mixed souls in the ground beneath them. A reporter had come, asked for a statement. I shook my head. Patricia spoke instead. "This isn't about Harold Brennan anymore. It's about our families. They're together now, properly, respectfully." As we left, I noticed something. The families weren't leaving alone. The Chens walked out with the Morrisons, the Santos family with the Thompsons, this strange extended family bound by shared ashes. Eleanor Brennan caught up with me in the parking lot. "Thank you," she said, "for fighting. I knew Harold was cruel. I left him 20 years ago because of it, but I never imagined this. Nobody did. He called me from prison, once, said you ruined his life." "What did you say?" "I said he ruined 800 lives first." She squeezed my hand. "My mother would have liked you. She was a fighter too." That night, I sat in Dad's empty room, his chair still there, his books, but no urn. It was in the ground now, under the maple tree, with 47 others, together in death as they were in life. Not what any of us planned, but maybe, somehow, enough. 6 months after the memorial garden dedication, I was sitting in my apartment, staring at my laptop. Final Rest Accountability Project. I typed the name into the state nonprofit registration form. My hands were steady now. No shaking, no doubt. Michael sat across from me. You're really doing this? Someone has to. But why you? Why can't you just move on? Because there are other Harold Brennans out there. Right now, mixing ashes, stealing from grieving families. I hit submit on the registration. Done. Official. Within a week, I had a basic website up. Nothing fancy, just information. Your rights at a funeral home, questions to ask, red flags to watch for, how to verify cremation weight, where to report concerns. 10,000 visits the first month. 10,000 families who'd Googled cremation weight wrong or funeral home suspicious and found me. The email started immediately. My mother was 180 pounds. Her ashes weigh 3.2 pounds. Found surgical screws in my father's ashes. He never had surgery. Funeral home charged us for individual cremation, but I saw them loading multiple bodies. Each one investigated, documented, reported to state boards. 3 months in, Congress called. The House Committee on Consumer Protection wanted testimony about funeral industry oversight. They flew me to Washington. I sat in that massive hearing room, representatives from 15 states staring down at me. Miss Matthews, tell us about your father. 4.2 pounds. That's what started everything. My father weighed 200 pounds. His ashes should have weighed 6 to 8 pounds. They weighed 4.2 inches. And what did you discover? 11 years of systematic fraud, 843 families, $2.6 million stolen. How is this possible? No real oversight, inspections once a year if that, inspectors taking bribes, families too grief-stricken to ask questions. They passed the Federal Funeral Services Accountability Act 6 months later. Mandatory cameras, monthly inspections, weight verification required, criminal penalties for commingling remains. The State Funeral Board called the next week. We're creating a new position, consumer advocate, full-time, investigating complaints, auditing funeral homes. We want you. I'm not a lawyer. You're an accountant. You understand patterns, fraud, plus you understand the families, $60,000 a year, benefits, the power to actually investigate. Michael came over when I told him. You're taking it. It's not a question. I know you're taking it. I just don't understand why you can't let this go. I pulled out Dad's journal. His last entry, December 10th. I hope Celeste doesn't make this harder than it needs to be. See, Michael said. He wanted you to move on. No, he wanted his death to be simple. It wasn't. Harold Brennan stole that from him, from us, from 800 families. So this is revenge? This is purpose. Dad's death gave me purpose. I started the job 2 weeks later. First assignment, audit 5 funeral homes showing unusual cremation weight patterns. Found fraud at 3 of them. 1 was mixing bodies, just like Harold, 12 families affected. Another was substituting cheaper caskets after viewings. Families paid for mahogany, got pressed wood. The 3rd was pre-selling services, then declaring bankruptcy, keeping the money, starting over under a new name. 3 funeral homes, 3 prosecutions, hundreds of families saved from what we went through. Patricia Morrison called after seeing me on the news about the 3rd case. You're doing good work. It doesn't bring them back. No, but maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is making sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. Year 1 at the state board, 17 funeral homes investigated, 6 prosecuted, 4 licenses revoked, new regulations passed requiring weight documentation for every cremation. Michael finally came around at Dad's birthday. We were at the memorial garden. His maple tree was thriving. Dad would be proud, he said. You think? You turned the worst thing that ever happened to us into something that protects others. I just check numbers, make sure they add up. You do more than that. That night, I got a call from a woman in Ohio. Her mother's ashes weighed wrong. The funeral home was gaslighting her, telling her she was grief-stricken, confused, imagining things. What do I do? She asked. First, document everything. Take photos, get weight receipts, then call your state board. If they don't help, call me back. Will you help me? Yes. Why? I looked at Dad's empty chair, his books, his reading glasses still on the side table. Because someone has to. 2 years later, I was back at the memorial garden with Dad's favorite coffee. Dark roast, 2 sugars, no cream. I poured it slowly around the base of his maple tree. The bark had grown thick, strong. The leaves rustled in the morning breeze. Still fighting, Dad, I whispered. Ben stood next to me. We'd met at the grief support group 8 months ago. His wife died in a car accident. He understood why I couldn't just move on. Why I needed to keep doing this work. Take your time, he said. I'll wait in the car. I sat on the bench Patricia had installed. 48 trees surrounded me. All thriving now. The dogwood Eleanor planted had bloomed early this year. Pink flowers everywhere. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then did. Celeste? I knew that voice. Hadn't heard it in 2 years. Robert? Yeah, I wanted to say I'm sorry. You said that at the rest stop. I need to say it again. Every day. I helped him for 11 years. I mixed those ashes. I handed urns to crying families knowing they contained strangers. You came forward. That matters. Does it? Does it really matter when I did it for over a decade first? His voice was different. Cleaner somehow. Clearer. Where are you? Arizona, working at a recovery center. Addiction counseling. You? Turns out I was addicted too. To my father's approval. To the easy money. To not thinking about what we were doing. He paused. Thank you. For what? For not backing down. I couldn't live with it anymore, but I was too weak to stop it myself. You weren't. Your recording helped convict him. Still in prison? 4 more years. Good. Another pause. I think about them. The families. Every day. Me too. Does it get easier? I looked at Dad's tree. At all 48 trees. No, it gets different, but not easier. I should go. Just needed to say that, to thank you. Robert? Yeah? You did the right thing. Eventually. Eventually doesn't bring them back. No, but it stopped more families from going through this. He hung up. I sat for another few minutes. Ben texted asking if I was okay. I was. Back at the office Monday morning, I was reviewing quarterly audits. Funeral homes had to submit cremation weight records now. Most were clean, legitimate variations, normal patterns, but one stood out. Riverside Memorial, 3 locations. The weights were too consistent. Every cremation, exactly 5.2 pounds. No variation. 200-pound men, 90-pound grandmothers, all producing exactly 5.2 pounds. I pulled 3 years of records. Same pattern. Then I found it. Bulk wood pellet purchases, 40 pounds per month. Why would a funeral home need wood pellets? I cross-referenced with their cremation schedule. The pellet orders increased when cremation volume increased. My hands weren't shaking anymore. No panic, just cold focus. I picked up the phone. State Attorney General's office? This is Celeste Matthews from the funeral board. I need to report something. What did you find? I found another one.